Hello, four-legged friend lovers. Have you ever wondered why your dog greets you with such excitement, as if they haven't seen you for an eternity, even though you just stepped out for 5 minutes to get the mail? Or why your pet starts circling by the door exactly when you usually come home from work? Today, we'll dive into the amazing world of canine time perception and figure out if 5 minutes and 5 hours really are the same thing for our furry friends. If this topic interests you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss new episodes about the mysteries of pet behavior. Understanding how your pet perceives time will help you become a better owner and free you from guilt when you have to leave your dog alone. Let's first understand how time perception works in animals compared to humans. We humans live in a world where time is measured in hours, minutes, and seconds. We have calendars, planners, and alarm clocks. We constantly look at watches and organize our lives around time frames. But animals, including dogs, perceive time completely differently. They don't know what an hour or minute means in our understanding. Their perception of time is more intuitive and connected to biological rhythms, events, and, most importantly, emotional states. Now let's dig deeper and turn to science. Scientists have discovered that dogs, like many other mammals, have internal biological clocks that help them navigate time. These clocks work based on circadian rhythms, approximately 24-hour cycles that regulate many physiological processes, including sleep, wakefulness, digestion, and hormonal levels. But unlike humans, who can think abstractly about time, dogs perceive it through the lens of events and actions. For them, time isn't numbers on a clock face, but a sequence of happenings. Interestingly, dogs react differently to different time intervals. Research shows they can distinguish short time intervals, for example, 2 minutes from 5 minutes. But when it comes to longer periods, this ability weakens. For a dog, 4 hours and 6 hours might feel roughly the same, just as long. This is because their perception of time is closely tied to emotional intensity and anticipation. The stronger the emotional connection to an event, the more significant it becomes for the dog. This explains why your pet gets so excited when you return home, regardless of whether you were absent for 5 minutes or a whole day. For a dog, the fact of separation and reunion matters, not its duration. When you leave, the dog doesn't know for sure if you'll return in a minute or many hours later. And although over time they begin to understand certain patterns, their basic perception still revolves around emotions. Owner left, sad. Owner returned, happy. Did you know that dogs' perception of time is closely linked to their sense of smell? A dog's nose is an amazing organ that perceives the world tens of thousands of times more acutely than a human's. And for dogs, smells are a kind of timeline. When you leave home, your scent remains and gradually dissipates. A dog can roughly determine how much time has passed since you left by the intensity of the scent. The weaker the scent becomes, the more time has passed. It's like an hourglass, but instead of sand, molecules of scent that gradually disappear from the air. Many dog owners notice that their pets seem to sense when their owner should arrive. They start circling by the door or looking out the window approximately when you usually return from work. This isn't mysticism or a sixth sense. Dogs simply excel at detecting repeating patterns. If you come home at roughly the same time every day, the dog remembers this ritual. Additionally, dogs can orient themselves by indirect signs, changes in lighting, street sounds characteristic of certain times of day, smells from neighboring apartments where dinner is also being prepared at the same time. Now let's talk about the emotional perception of time in dogs. For them, time doesn't flow linearly, but emotionally, When a dog is bored or anxious, time drags on longer. When it's engaged in play or exploration, time flies by unnoticed. Sounds familiar, right? Humans have a similar effect. Remember how quickly time flies when you're busy with something interesting, and how slowly minutes crawl when you're in a doctor's waiting room. But for dogs, this emotional coloring of time is much more pronounced, since they live predominantly in the present moment, not distracted by thoughts about the past or plans for the future. What happens to a dog when the owner leaves home? Imagine the door closes and your pet remains alone for the first few minutes or even hours. The dog may experience stress and anxiety, especially if it has a tendency toward separation anxiety. But gradually, most dogs calm down and enter waiting mode. They may sleep, play with toys, or simply observe what's happening outside the window. Interestingly, studies using surveillance cameras show that most dogs spend about 70% of their time in their owner's absence sleeping or dozing. Sleep is a kind of way to fast forward time until the moment their beloved human returns. Scientists have conducted many experiments to understand how dogs perceive time. In one, dogs were trained to press a lever after a certain time interval to receive a treat. The results showed that dogs are indeed capable of tracking short time intervals, but their accuracy is significantly inferior to humans. Another experiment studied how a dog's greeting changes depending on the duration of separation from the owner. It turned out that the longer the owner was absent, the more emotional the greeting was, but only up to a certain limit. After several hours of separation, the intensity of the greeting no longer increased, confirming the theory that, for dogs, long periods of time merge into one long time. If you're worried that your dog gets bored or anxious in your absence, there are several ways to help your pet cope with separation. First, don't make leaving a big event. Say goodbye to your dog calmly, without excessive emotion. Second, leave interesting toys or puzzles with treats that will occupy your pet for some time after you leave. Third, gradually accustom your dog to solitude, starting with short absences and gradually increasing the time. And finally, create a comfortable space for your dog where it will feel safe, with your items that smell like you and with access to water. Interestingly, different dog breeds may perceive time differently. This is related to their temperament characteristics and breeding history. For example, breeds developed for active work with humans, such as Border Collies or German Shepherds, are usually more sensitive to daily routines and may experience disruptions to their usual schedule more acutely. More independent breeds, such as Huskies or Akita Inus, typically handle solitude better and are less attached to strict schedules. But of course, each dog is an individual, and much depends on the specific pet's character and upbringing. A dog's age also affects its perception of time. Puppies live predominantly in the present moment and have very short memory for events. For them, 5 minutes can seem like an eternity, especially if they're bored or need to go to the bathroom. As dogs mature, their ability to maintain attention and remember events improves. Adult dogs better understand routines and can predict events based on past experience. But elderly dogs may again experience deteriorating memory, and they can become confused about time, just like elderly people. Now, here are some practical tips for dog owners that will help make time perception more comfortable for your pet. First, try to maintain a daily routine. This gives the dog a sense of stability and predictability. Second, if you need to leave your dog alone for a long time, ask a friend or relative to visit your pet in your absence, or consider hiring a dog sitter. Third, before leaving, provide your dog with sufficient physical and mental exercise. A tired dog will handle your absence more easily. And finally, remember that modern technology allows you to stay connected with your pet even in your absence. There are special devices that allow you to talk to your dog and even give treats remotely. What have we learned today about time perception in dogs? First, dogs don't perceive time as we do, in hours and minutes. For them, time is measured by events, emotions, and biological rhythms. Second, dogs can distinguish short time intervals, but long periods merge into one long time for them. Third, dogs use smells and repeating patterns to orient themselves in time. And finally, a dog's emotional state strongly influences its subjective perception of time. What do you think? Can dogs miss specific people or other animals? Or is their joy upon meeting simply a reaction to the return of a pack member? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm very interested to learn about your opinions and experiences with dogs. If you liked this video and learned something new about your four-legged friend, don't forget to like it. This will help spread this useful information among other dog owners. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss new episodes about the mysteries of pet behavior. Next time, we'll talk about another fascinating ability of our pets that often puzzles scientists. And remember, every moment spent with your dog is priceless to them, not in hours or minutes, but in the joy of being with you. Cherish this time.